Hi there, my name is Michael Mendoza. I'm a Business Apps team lead at Intelequia and also a Microsoft Business Applications MVP. I wanted to share with you today a solution that I came up with when trying to use custom fonts in Power Apps. In Power Apps, you can use several fonts like Arial or Georgia or from the list you can see there, but doesn't allow you to have custom fonts. Let's see, maybe you need to use a specific font in your company, or do you want to build a Canvas app that uses a specific font required for your project. Okay, so in Power Apps, there is not a specific version or a workaround or whatever that allows you to import a font in your Power Apps Studio. You need to do a workaround, and that's what I want to show you today. Okay, let's go to the demo, and let's try by building a new Power App. Go here, create Canvas app. Let's call it fonts. Let's keep the tablet format. Once the Power Apps Studio loads, you will see all the tools or all the possibilities that you have when building applications. Okay, you can go here, insert a label, and you can see what I was telling you about. You can use a dancing script. Let's make this bigger, like this. You can use Little Black, Sequoia UI, but you cannot use another font. So what are the things that I try to make this work? I don't know if you have noticed that in the text drop down there's an HTML text that allows you to use HTML in your applications. If I increase the size of the font, okay, to see it better, you will see that you have HTML here. Well, that's good because you can change the color. For example, I want to set this to red and it changes. This was my first step to tackle down this situation, because I wanted to see how can I load information from for example Google Fonts website, to load fonts from there or from a specific location. But as you can see here, you can place tags here in the HTML format, but you cannot set styles or a specific style for loading fonts. Okay, so this was not used for me. But then I don't know if you have noticed in my blog that I really love using SVGs in my applications, because they allow you to have a dynamic graphics that expands to whatever site without losing resolution, and helps in many ways. One of the things that I found in the MDN docs is that the SVGs allows you to use text content. So if I match the style here with a specific, for example, in a specific text in my SVG, I can create an image that sets a text that allows me to use custom fonts. This was my first idea. I'm going to show you all the steps that I made to try to make this work. So the first thing that I did was to get to transform this data into SVG. Okay, so to use SVGs, the first thing that you need to tell to Power Apps is that you're going to input a data in this format, in the SVG. Okay, and then encode whatever you need to use in your SVG for to replace the specific characters and make it understandable by Power Apps. So I created this SVG, and then I apply this style. I use the import URL to load a specific font from the Google Fonts website, and using this style tag, I try to do the same. Okay, I copy this here, and when I go to the Power App, I'm going to add an image, because this is not going to be really a text property, so I can replace the sample image with this text. As you can see, it doesn't work, but this led me to think that that I was going in the right direction, because as you can see, this is Comic Sans. So when I saw Comic Sans here, I said, oh well, maybe I need to do a little thing, some changes here and some changes there to see if I can make it work. So my next step was to try to load the font in another way. As you can see here, you can load fonts using the font face tag. I tried to load the same font with another attribute. As you can see, I'm using the same custom tag here to apply it to the text tag of SVG. Okay, I tried the same thing for this image, but it doesn't work. Now I have Times New Roman. That means that the font is not being loaded correctly by Power Apps. If you have fiddled with the components inside Power Apps Studio and the Power Apps Player, you might have seen that there are some things that you cannot put in your HTML content, or in this case an SVG image. For example, an iframe or something. Something are blocked from Power Apps. So I said, well, if I cannot download this font from a specific location, I'm going to try to put the font inside the Power App. So that was my next step. But to do this, I needed to make some changes, because a font, as you know, is a file like any other. It's a TrueType font file. So I wanted to see if I can try to load this into the app. And I remember that when loading fonts, you can load fonts using the base64 description of this or translation of a file. So I found this font that is called Transfonter, sorry, that allows you to convert a font into other formats. For example, we're going to use here a font. It's called Believe It. And you need to make sure that you click here to encode this file, this TTF file, as you can see here, a TTF file, TrueType font file, into a base64 encoding. If I click here and then click Convert, it will let me download the file converted. I'm going to open it, and it went to the other screen. And if I open where I really need, that is the style sheet, you will see that the font now is loaded inline. All the contents of the font is placed here encoded in base64. So if I do this, I can integrate this font loading that you see here. Is the same, because I'm closing the tags here. And if I try to do this in my Power App, you will see that it works. It works with any font that you load. If I go here and try to another font, free, obviously. Let's see, I don't know, this one. Let me load this font, open this zip file, and extract this to the same location I had the other font. Okay, and then let's repeat the steps. The browse, delete this one, base64, and convert. If I download this file and open this style sheet, let me, okay. What I'm doing here, when you see this opening and closing, I'm setting and unsetting word wrap because I wanted to be able to copy this in a better way, okay? So I'm going to paste this here. Let me put this a little better. If I copy this into my Power App, into this, it doesn't work. Oh, sure. I have to change the name. As you can see, the font family is the Bros. Or I hope I'm naming it right. Okay, now it works. So you can use your fonts in any TrueType font this way. You just go to Transfonder and convert this font into Base64 or Transfonder or any website that you know that you can convert TrueType fonts into Base64, and then you can apply this in your Power Apps. But not only this, this allows you to have a font like this right here, or for example, think of what else can you achieve with this by using components. If I create a new component, I can create a specific component to use my fonts. For example, let me create this component with this size, and I'm going to insert an image, make it the same size, and I'm going to take this example I've created before. If I want to use a component for my fonts, I can use, I'm going to need to have some parameters or some properties for my component. One is the text, and another cool one might be to have the color, okay? So I'm going to create custom properties for my component to allow to change the text of my component, okay? I'm going to call it text, set it as input, and the data type as text. I'm going to create a new one. This time it's going to be, color hex, because I want the hex representation of the color to use it in my component, okay? Now that I've put this, let me explain you what I did. I'm going to go to the bottom of this. I created another style tag. It says custom color, besides custom font. I can create a component called, believe it, a component called, what is the name of the Bros, for example, one specific component for each font that I want to use in my application. But I changed it to have in this part where I set the text, I can change this back to hello. Okay, but what I did is to integrate the text of the component. This is going to be an input parameter, the text that I want to see in my component, and the color in hex representation. Hex representation looks like this. FF is white, for example, 000000 is black. Okay. If I set these parameters here, I can then use this component in my application all the times that I want for this specific component. I can rename this believe it font. All right. Now I can go here in my application. Let's say this is a custom font that I need to use, and I can go custom believe it font, and I put here. If you see here, there's custom properties for my component. If I change this, hello, and I change the color to, for example, let's keep it black. But let's say I want to add something like this, rectangle here as my application header. I can now put this here and change the color to white, and of course set the rectangle to the back. And now my font can have colors. See, you can I don't know, I think this is yellow or red. Let me see. Oh, red. See, you can have a custom font in your Power App. You can add it as a component. This allows you to extend these fonts in many places, because you can now put this here, go back and set it back to black. Okay, and put it right here. And you're still using custom fonts in your application. This allows you to, by using this technique, it allows you to extend your applications and make the best of your applications by using custom fonts in your apps. I hope this serves you well, and I hope you like it. But wait, there's another way to do it. This solution that I'm going to load here uses another technology or another technique that is available in Power Apps. That is the Power Apps Component Framework. Is the developer approach to inserting code inside your Power Apps, code that you build outside Power Apps or the platform itself. You can build your code using JavaScript, React, or on another technology, web technology that is there. In this case, I use another approach. I use JavaScript to load the font, in this case from Google Fonts, and I'm injecting the font in Power Apps. That's why when I try to load this application, it says this app may contain unsafe code, because I created this component outside the platform, and I'm going to use it here. To show you how it works, let me show you Google Fonts website. As you can see here, you have many fonts that you can use in your applications, in your web apps, in your websites that you create by loading from this site, from this the Google CDN. If I type a name of a font here, like Indie Flower, for example, and I click Set Font, you can see both texts change. If I put here Pacifico, for example, it changes as well. If I go back to Railway, it sets the font in Power Apps. This, and this are controls from Power Apps, but this is a dev component. As you can see here, is a Power Font PCF component that loads the font that is written here. This simply is a text input, and this button only sets the update context, the font name of this of what is written here in the text input. This component has a parameter as the regular components in Power Apps, that is font name. Once I set the font name of update context variable, it changes the injection. It loads the font from Google Fonts and injects that into the player of Power Apps. And that way I can use this font wherever I want. But to do it, I need to use an HTML component, an HTML control, sorry, because I can now use the font because it has been loaded in Power Apps, and I can call it from the styles in here. As you can see here, I'm loading the same font name that is written in the text input, and I'm simply setting the style. The font family is the name of the font I written in the text input. I set it cursive, font weight, bold. I can change this, for example, not being bold, and font size to 48, for example, to make it bigger. As you can see, if I change this back to India flower, it changes correctly. So this is a harder way to do this, because you need to build your component, you need to make some steps to create a Power Apps component framework component, but it's a better way to make this work, because you don't need to load the font into the image, use SVGs. You are simply using HTML controls. This control allows you to write the text in a better way. It even verb wraps and stuff like that. That is sometimes simple to use when using HTML components control, sorry. But when using the other approach is harder, because you need to use it as an image, as an SVG image. So this way works a little better for your components. The downside is that using Power Apps Component Framework requires a license to use in your applications, and the nagging dialog that says that this application is using components, is using code created outside the platform. But I don't know. This might be a better way for you to have custom fonts in your applications. The code examples that you see here, you can find it in my GitHub account. It's my name, github.com/Eichel, or to test in your solutions. Okay, so that's it. Thank you. You can find me in Twitter at Eichel, my name. Power Nimbus is my blog, and Intellica.com, I write there in the blog as well. So you can find some solutions on other workarounds I've been working with. Thank you.